Hello there and welcome back to the podcast I Can't Believe It's Worship. I'm Lester Sim.
And I'm Lester Ong.
And once again, this is the Worship Podcast for amateurs, by amateurs. Today we have a familiar guest here with us. He was on in a previous episode. We have Pastor Dave here with us. Hello, Pastor Dave.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello there.
Thanks, gents.
And this is the very first recording for 2026. The reason why we're having Dave back is because in our previous episode, we endeavored to give you something that's more practical. But we got caught up in a conversation of it all, and we talked about the philosophical approaches to different things, which can be good. It's good to see that picture, but we want to give you something a little more practical. Tips that you could potentially use in your own ministry. And that's why we are back here.
That's right. And it shows how amateurish we were because we couldn't tease out the answers we wanted from Pastor Dave on how to build an effective worship ministry.
No, it's totally my fault. I literally, the day after, I went home and I was like, I actually didn't really talk about how to build a worship ministry at all. We just kind of talked around worship stuff, but...
How amateurish.
That's right. But then again, it's perfect for this show.
That's right.
All right, here we go. The very first question that we have. You did say in the previous episode that it's important to build faithful worshippers, and I think you did say, broadly speaking, it starts from the top. But apart from that, right? How do you do this within the context of the worship team?
Yeah. So when it comes to defining what faithfulness is, I think, and what success looks like for the worship ministry, I think we have to start there. So I guess in the communications with the worship ministry, everybody comes in with, when you join, with different perspectives of what worship ministry could look like, should look like, and what is cool, what is not cool. So having a somewhat consolidated understanding of defining what faithfulness is about, I think helps to set the foundation for the team to build off of. So it's
Wait. Give me some examples here.
Yes.
Because as you're talking about this, right, I'm trying to think of what that looks like, different ideas of faithfulness and whatnot. Could you make it concrete, just so we roughly know what you're talking about?
So, for example, person A might come in with, and I think something that's commonly held is worship is about what happens on the stage and how, let's say, a set list goes. And so that can be defined many different ways. Someone would define it by, were the transitions smooth? Was the flow good? Did people sing well? Was it on key, on time, on key, all that kind of stuff? But in the context of a worship ministry, I think it's helping people to understand that is kind of like the end result of what comes out, but there's a whole bunch of things that go in the back end which actually help to build up good worship ministries and help to overflow into all the good moments that people love to be a part of and love to see. So when it comes to in the context of within a ministry and trying to set the expectations right, so I think some stuff that we had to talk about at the beginning was just setting expectations of like, okay, so what does faithfulness look like within our ministry? So it looks like good communication. It looks like being able to talk about, rosters and dialoguing well with people as to how you're doing and what you feel about certain things. And if you're not able to make it, stuff like that, like finding replacements, things like that. It's also about defining faithfulness as stuff that happens off the stage. So how we interact with one another, how we treat ministry, how we prepare, doing your best to put in all the effort from a technical perspective, and putting all your energy in there so that there's headspace when it comes to the actual moments that we lead worship, to see what's happening in the room, ask God what's happening, keep our eyes open, sense what the Holy Spirit is doing, stuff like that. So I think there's a broader conversation that needs to take place in the worship ministry about what success and faithfulness and faithfully leading worship looks like.
So what sort of conversations then take place? What is the... Well, how do you have those conversations?
Yeah, how do you start?
Yeah.
So there's different avenues, I reckon. The avenues are going to be different for each worship ministry, but given the I guess the avenues that we have, it is our team gatherings are a good space to talk about these things.
Yeah.
So every time we set team culture and we talk about like, so these are some things that we're noticing that are happening. This is what we need to fix. Our debriefs and our briefs, every time we gather together for worship, every time we're sending out our set list in our WhatsApp group chats that we've all set up and stuff like that. It's just framing what we do and how we do things just helps to reinforce culture and reset the expectation again.
Yeah.
And you'd be kind of like amazed at how much culture and expectations leak over time. It's quite dastardly, actually.
Do you have an example?
So, okay, this is something that I have noted of recently of our worship team, and I haven't had a chance to broach it with all of us yet. So take this for what it is. I think part of our one of the side effects of us growing large as a music team is that we have a lot of people, so many people in every role, right? There used to be a culture where we maybe because of the smaller size, we used to step in for one another much more quickly than we do now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so there's a bystander effect, right?
Yeah,
it's like, if
so
I
it's
don't
like,
do it, someone else will do that.
Exactly, 100%. So before, when there's like 2-3 people in a row, right? Someone says, SOS, I can't make it, right? Immediately, everyone's just like, I can't make it, or I'll make it, or I'll shift something around to make it. But now, because there's like, say, 7, 8, 9 people in each row, everyone's just like, someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, waiting for someone to pull the trigger first.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And nobody ever... And then you have this whole like weird group chat effect where it's like, you send something out into a group chat and then it just goes into the ether and nobody responds and it's crickets.
Yeah.
It's really weird. So like, just stuff like this, culture that leaks over time just needs to be somehow reinforced, talked about, stuff like that.
But it could also be that you need a different approach as the group gets larger. It's not necessarily a cultural leakage. Maybe it's just a different modus operandi for a different setting.
I agree to some degree. So, for example, I think we tried to tide like this particular issue, sorry for delving too deep into it, over with like, instead of sending something to the group chat, why don't you try like messaging someone personally?
Okay.
And usually they respond faster. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily deal with the larger cultural thing that's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess what you're saying is there is a need to have a platform, or it might not be a platform, but it's important to have conversations to talk about these things.
Yes.
And maybe there are worship ministries out there that do not intentionally create these kind of spaces like Team Arvos and whatnot. They just serve week in, week out.
Yeah.
But we do have these kind of opportunities where even in the green room after in the second service, we get to talk about different things and get to hear what people say.
Yes.
You get to go, oh, okay, so that's how you perceive faithful worship. And then you get to address it. You get to like, everybody kind of gets a collective pool of wisdom in a center, and you kind of go, all right, this one makes a little more sense. So yeah, having that space to talk about these kind of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's correct. I think that intentionality with some of these things is actually quite distinctive. And I'm not suggesting that we've got all the answers, but just to help our listeners, tell us about what happens at a briefing, at a debriefing, in between services. Maybe it might be a good tip that someone might go, oh, I'll try that.
Oh, and doing our Arvos as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sheesh, that's a lot. Okay.
We'll remind you.
Yeah, we'll remind you. Yeah.
All right, so the first one was
briefing.
Briefings. So are we talking about like when we before we start?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that. So.
Yes. Okay. So in my mind, I use briefings as like, when you are first gathering a group together, either physically or digitally online in your chat. What it is that you do and you say to set people's hearts and minds in the right space to think about the right things. So usually during the week, actually, I don't. I'm personally a little bit different from some of our other worship leaders, but I keep it quite logistical. So because I just kind of feel like the week people need to prep and do all their stuff, and then when they come together, that's when we start to dialogue the spiritual stuff. So usually the briefing digitally is literally quite operational. It's like, here's the set list, here's the Spotify, here's the arrangements, these are the keys that we're doing it, here's who's leading it, and then it's pretty much it. And then here's the rehearsal time, you guys will see you there. Let me know if you have any questions. And then during the week, there'll be dialogue between the MDs and the different musos about purely logistical stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Then comes the Saturday for us, which is our rehearsal day. And then we all gather together. And it's usually the worship leader in our context who needs to come together and bring the team together. So we'll have our sound check. That'll run for like however long it takes, 10, 15 minutes. And I think all of us do this, right? I hope we still all do. But
I still do it.
We all kind of like gather.
What is this?
we all gather after the sound check. We all come together, make sure that we know everyone who's on the team, introduce any newbies, stuff like that, introduce ourselves, kind of give a little bit of focus for the set list in terms of what we're focusing on, what we're really trying to drill down into, what was going on in our mind. And that's an art in itself, because being able to communicate that in a very succinct and punchy way without dragging it on.
I guess you also want to get buy-in from your team as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And also, I guess, stop them from going to a place where they're just going through the motions. It's like, these are the songs, and I have no idea why they were picked. I have no idea what purpose they are serving or what really spoke to the worship leader when they were picking it. And then, so all I care about is my little lick that comes in at 2:36 in the track or whatever.
Yep.
So, that briefing is really important. Just to get everyone on the same page, hopefully pray, hopefully recenter us, help us to realize that the rehearsal is more than purely logistical, even though the week might have been more heavy on that. But there is an element of coming together, of being united, of wanting to help one another. All that's involved.
Right. Sorry. So let's dig into this a little more. What would you do? Like, because I know some people would share like a quick review of a sermon that they heard and they thought it was really good, and they share like, say, the 3 points. You get people pray in pairs. Some people just go, I feel like God wants to use this scripture to speak to us, and just one verse, small like exposition on it, and then challenge the team kind of thing. Some people just go, well, here's why I picked these songs. It's meant to flow like this, it's meant to tell this story kind of thing. What would you do?
I would probably err towards the last two that you mentioned. So something either really short and quick in terms of a verse, or something that's happening in the church which kind of directs the worship moments. Or why I've chosen the songs. And that's usually tied to the sermon topic, the series that we're going through, what God has been speaking to me through the series and stuff like that. I think the tension there lies in trying to not make it into a connect group moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get different feedback. Even like, say, one of our MDs is just like, man, this, like, I'm here to practice. I'm here to rehearse, man. Stop talking. And then others just like, but we want to build community and stuff like that, which is, it's a tension that you have to hold.
Yeah, and I think, there's no set way of doing it either. I think mixing it up is not a bad thing. Indeed. Occasionally I bring out a little birthday cake because it's someone's birthday. But one thing I'll observe about this process, and this is a leadership issue, I think, if I am fully persuaded and convicted about what I'm about to share, I find that the buy-in is stronger. And obviously then you get a stronger team, a stronger collaboration and unity within the team. And there have been times when I'm just like, I've got nothing, so I'm just going to say something.
Say something generic.
And it actually kind of flows through.
They sense it too, right?
So definitely, leadership has to be able to give from a place of conviction, I think.
Yeah. But it's difficult. Like, I think we all have, especially if you serve a lot. You have those weeks where you just don't have like something that new and fresh, and that is super like on the edge of your heart, kind of like to share.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Got you.
Yeah. So what do you do in those moments?
Yeah, you just make something up.
What I do for those moments would be like, because those times I think you're thinking of like, what does God want to say through this set or to the team? But there are times definitely I'm like, I have nothing for the team, but then I kind of go, okay, fine, maybe I'll share what God's doing in my life, the things that I'm being challenged by the Holy Spirit, and maybe that's something that's going to challenge someone else as well. And so I would hope that every worship leader has that continuous walk, right? To go, all right, even if you don't have anything corporately for the people, you kind of go like, all right, what's God doing in my life?
Yeah.
Like, for example, this past week, I challenged them, and it was one of those weeks that I was like, I actually don't really have something that I feel compelled like this is for our people. But I just felt like the reminder is God a God over every single aspect of my life? And I was like, I'll share that with you. And after a while, I realized that it resonated with people, and I was like, yeah, maybe this is meant to be the word for people, and it turned into a pre-service thing to pray for. So I think that's always a safe, yet also it carries that conviction kind of backup plan. For me, like, I think it's fine. Yeah. But I do think it's important to have a variety, like what you said,
Correct.
of doing different things. Like, you don't want to always feel like, right, this leader always does just one thing. You got to be able to share scripture, do all these, like, walk people through why you're doing the song list a certain way and whatnot. I think it also look bad, or after a while you start creating a form of culture when all you talk about is, here's why I picked these songs, and it's more an emotive kind of flow. Yeah, you want also to be able to, like, ground people in scripture, and also kind of tells, like, the musicians, like, hey, we're not just about music, we're here also about, like, the word and whatnot. And so I think it's also part of culture forming.
Yes.
Yeah. And then celebrating birthdays, like, you're like, we care about people, right? We're not just here to get you do your thing, but yeah, we're here to celebrate people and to love on them too.
Always be on Lester's team if you want cake
during
your birthday.
Teddy bear candle, right? That's ever dwindling.
Yes. I've had that candle for years. No, this is the second teddy bear candle I've had, so it's been around for years.
Fair enough.
And of course, some of us make breakfast for our team as well, which is kind of nice as well.
Oh, yes.
Just Lester.
No.
No.
Jackie does it, and
Ali does it as well.
So,
And plenty of people do.
It's a nice thing, as you say, we're serving the team.
Yeah. But what's great about that is that it's not just the leaders doing it anymore. Yeah. I mean, I think it started with you, Lester, to be honest. And then all these people just hopped on the bandwagon. People who aren't necessarily even leaders on the team, they just saw it. They thought, this is awesome. This brings such a vibe, and they want to bless people with it. So good.
Yeah. That's been good.
Yeah.
All right. No, that was just a briefing.
Yeah.
Oh my.
This looks like 2 episodes.
Wow. It's going to be long, eh?
Because I've started thinking of other things.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
This,
we can literally follow the rabbit trail as far as it's your podcast, boys. You guys do what you want to do.
Okay. Our main aim here, let's keep it practical. All right? We can follow a rabbit trail, but let's keep it practical.
Okay.
Hey, I have a practical question.
Yes.
Because during the rehearsal, for example, actually I've got two.
Yeah.
During the rehearsal, and this has been, you see all these little snippets everywhere on Instagram. When you come to rehearsal, you're not just rehearsing, you're worshipping.
Yes.
Things like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you worship and rehearse at the same time?
Oh, I know your stance on this because I've asked you before and you said it before. Yeah. Come on, tell us.
My stance is that if you understand worship is broader than what the broadness of what worship is, you'll have no trouble acclimatizing the two together or converging the two together. So I think what people struggle with in rehearsal and worship is they have an idea of worship where it's like, I need to be able to close my eyes, not worry about a thing, and just like free flow into the presence of God and just have like this amazing encounter with God. And kudos to you if you can do that. But I also think there is a time and a place where it is just as worshipful, if done with the right motive, where you're literally talking about time signatures, transitions, and working out your harmonies and saying, maybe we shouldn't do that, and creatively working things out. So I think both can be just as worshipful if we reframe our understanding of what worship is. So, I don't think it's helpful if people come into the mindset where you're kind of pitting rehearsing in terms of, let's say, like getting musical things right against worship as if it's like the freedom of care from everything else and just enjoying yourself in the presence of God.
Yeah. I would say that maybe that statement is said in light of how, in my experience, there are times where there are teams not necessarily from our church, but where
Nice
as
caveat.
musos you get too carried away.
Yeah.
Like, and you start having fun together.
Yeah,
and
correct.
it's easy to do that.
Correct.
And I feel like as a leader, I've had to, the safer way to do it is to always pare it back to ease down the excitement. To kind of, you know, like, because if you're amped up as the leader, everybody else just takes that energy from you, and it doesn't feel like it's worship anymore.
Yeah.
So I feel like that statement would be more for that. But yeah, I'd agree. It shouldn't be pit against each other.
Well, I take a middle ground approach in the sense that if I can, I would, and I do this quite a lot. If we have extra time, I just spontaneously start worshiping.
Yeah, which is great.
And I want the band to just follow without that sense of care. Because I think that there is a difference, even though we've many times talked here about the broad definition of worship. There is a difference between doing a task as broad worship, but then focusing in and really being abandoned to God in worship.
Yes.
So for me, the transcendence comes if we can do both.
Correct.
But I actually heard this from Andrew Ironside many years ago when he said, what is the worshipful thing to do if you can't get the sound sorted out? Should you gather together and pray for 20 minutes, or should you get the sound sorted? And he said the most worshipful thing you can do is actually to get the sound sorted, because you're serving the people, and if you can't sort out the sound, you've got nothing. And so it was a very practical approach, which I think is important. If we keep rehearsing the main thing, if we can nail the rehearsal, and part of this is getting our preparation right, because if we prepare well before we come, and then we can nail the rehearsal, then we got more time to do the transcendent things and get our focus right.
Yeah. But I'd say if you are serving with a team that is technically all right, like our teams, I think we have the blessing of serving with teams that are more or less all right. It's not like we have to sort out like wrong chords, left, right, center. I think it's good to do what Les Dong does, and what he does is he breaks out into that free worship. And I think that sets culture to kind of also let people know we don't put up a front on a Sunday. The moment there are people in front of us, then you bust out like your most worshipful self now. But like you're basically, anytime that space that we are singing these lyrics, these words to the Lord, like you are worshiping wholeheartedly. And that might mean you go into something spontaneous. So I would encourage our listeners, if you're serving with a team that is pretty decent, and you don't have to spend like 20 minutes like sorting stuff out, like, hey, what are you playing, right? I'd say don't be afraid to also train the team to kind of flow. And everyone just kind of realizes that, okay, from what the leader's doing, this is more than just a technical rehearsal.
And I think we better let Dave say some more stuff about this, because
No, it's fine. It's cool.
I know, but this is an episode of Pastor Dave.
Yes, or an episode or two.
Yeah, or two. but I mean, I'm thinking about the rehearsals, and a lot of worship people out there want to know what we do for rehearsals, right? And one of the things which I think you did, and I remember this from the early days, and so I'd like you to talk about it. What did you have to tell us to get us to a point where we don't end up spending all this time rehearsing ourselves, when we get there? What sort of preparation would you encourage the team members to undertake?
Maximum preparation.
Yeah.
But I think we pushed that from a very early stage, which was the expectation was that you come to the rehearsal prepared, to the level that all we're doing is we're putting together the different prepared parts, just as if we were like cooking. Like, you've pre-chopped your onions, everything has been prepped, you're just putting it into the pan and frying it up in that moment, if to put a cooking analogy to it. So that rehearsal is not practice, if
Okay. Yep.
Put it that way. So that's what we've tried to kind of envision and encourage from the beginning. And then comes the hard part of actually enforcing that culture. Yeah, so you come together, person A hasn't practiced, you notice that, oh, this song starts with a keyboard riff. Keyboardist doesn't know their keyboard. Or, this song has an iconic drum groove, which drummer is clearly like winging it on the spot. And then you have to have those conversations about, hey, did you rehearse and practice and stuff. So yeah, that having that expectation has been really good so that our time together is actually the most fruitful.
I think that's a timely reminder. So I'll get that sound grab, which is, what was it again? Rehearsal is not your practice time.
Yeah.
Because the efficiency there means that you get to do more together as a team. Correct. Rather than have people wait on each other to Correct. Sort themselves out.
Correct.
But I think there's also something that happens before this, and it's about like what caliber or what skill level do you require from new members? Because I think that plays a big part. I know some worship teams where it's like, this person has a great heart for worship, but the singing might not be the most on point, And it's like no matter how much they practice, you have to sort stuff out. Yeah. So I think that ties in, but I'm not sure. Do we want to talk about that now, or do we want to?
Oh, we've got a question for you about induction and recruitment.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be good for that.
Yeah, we'll leave that for later. But I do think that this ties in.
Yes.
Right? Because part of the reason why we are able to do this, and I think we don't really have to firefight so much, is because we do set a decent bar.
Yeah, so a lot of things, they tie into one another, and it's like, that's why it's very easy to follow the rabbit trail. But in order to allow our rehearsal time to be the most meaningful thing together, right? So there's the expectation that we set on our members, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
There's also the expectations that we set on our worship leaders in terms of how long do people need for you to send out the set list so that people can prepare and come to that degree. So we landed on something like 10 days is ideal. So the Friday before the week before the Sunday is when we attempt to. Sorry to all the people who I always send it out late to. But yeah, I think by the latest we're probably I would say Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday is dead latest. And if it's later than that, then I think conversations probably need to be had. Yeah, then there's the recruitment and the kind of people and the expectations when people come into the ministry about what we do. And we also set an expectation about what is when people prepare. What is the expectation of how they prepare? So this is a really interesting one because a lot of people come into worship thinking that, well, we're musicians, right? So we come and we jam, we create something on the spot. But at least from our history, we've become copycat artists in the sense that we tell people to rehearse and to prepare as if they were listening to the track. So that's our base model for everything.
Yep.
It's the fundamental by which once you have that nailed, then only then we start to talk about improvisation and how do we creatively want to make the arrangement work better for us or change things up. But having that for us has been helpful as well. Otherwise, you don't have a target for which people are aiming towards when they rehearse.
Yeah, definitely a lot of talk about discipline. I think it's a word which nobody really likes, but when we get the discipline right, I think the ministry gets built on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And everything becomes actually more enjoyable, which is quite surprising when you think about, discipline usually gets associated with you draw the fun out of everything and stuff. But actually, the more disciplined that we have become over time, the more enjoyable our time together actually has become.
Well, there's the old analogy of playing the piano, right? If you don't discipline and learn the fundamentals of how to play the piano and you go freeform right from the beginning, you don't have the skills to actually play freeform properly.
Yeah. Unless you're some kind of musical prodigy.
Yep.
Of which there are not that many.
All right, so that was
that was just a briefing.
Yeah.
What else? Oh my goodness.
We haven't talked about the debrief.
Yeah, debrief.
We haven't talked about team gatherings.
Yeah.
Okay. So debriefs.
Yeah.
What do we talk about during debriefs? I think there's a mix of what went well during the service. How did it sound to us as the people who are on the stage in terms of things that jumped out to us that worked or didn't work?
Yep.
In terms of how the congregation responded to it.
Oh wait, can we talk about, since you're talking about this, who is present for the debriefs?
Everybody who is part of the team on that week is present for that debrief, plus some others. Usually, so this band on stage, including all the vocals, are on. Sound person usually comes in. Sometimes people from the production team join in. Other times there are also, and we actually get this pretty regularly, which is just normal worship team members, probably in the more senior.
Like
more
Lester?
senior positions, like Lester, like let's say, for a season, I've asked Addy, who is one of our oldest and longest serving MDs, to join in and give feedback. So more senior members just to come in and to highlight how it felt and how, from a congregation member's perspective. Yeah. So then we all come together and we just have a chat. How did that set list go? Part of that conversation is musical. Part of that conversation is how the congregation was responding to different things that we did, whether we should change songs, change arrangements, sit on a moment longer, stuff like that.
Yep.
We try to encourage different ones of us within the team as much as possible. We try to discourage as little as possible. So I think something that we've learned how to do over time is how to give constructive feedback in a way which people accept and almost expect as normal without trying to, without stepping on toes too much.
Yep.
It's actually a very difficult balance. Different churches do it to varying degrees. And then we pray together. Yeah.
And I think we found it useful not to bombard too many negatives.
Correct.
Because the temptation is to actually pick the faults.
Yeah, correct.
So we might pick one or two important things to work on rather than give the whole smorgasbord and
100%.
deflate everyone in the process.
100%. Yeah. That's a conversation to definitely have.
So what we usually do if someone's taking like actual tips from this, right? We usually would say, well, worship leader, what do you think? If we have two worship leaders, we ask from both. How do you feel? Do you feel like the band supported you? Do you feel like they went where you wanted them to go? Like, for example, you want to bring it down low, but they were still too high, right? And we'll ask the MD, we'll ask someone from the floor, how did it feel from the floor? Because from the in-ears, like you might think like, yeah, it was great, man. And like from the floor, it's like, actually, we couldn't hear you talking. Yeah, so you ask someone from the floor as well. And it has been helpful that we have had like senior members come in, right? We ask the sound as well, and they give that technical aspect of, hey, this part, like you guys were too hot. Right? What can you do? Bring down your gain, all that kind of stuff. So we get that variety, and then after that, of course, we kind of open it up to, okay, anybody else has anything else. Because I think there's also a danger of if you just open it up to everybody and we have too many opinions, it's very difficult to decide on one thing. So you want to limit it to the stakeholders.
Correct.
For that week.
Yeah.
And we also want to say that this works also because we got double services.
Yes.
Because actually, right, if for churches that have single service, a debrief can be pointless.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, we're not going to do it again. We're not going to do that riff again, right? But I think part of the reason why this works for us and we get better, hopefully, is because we go, all right, this didn't work, try again, right? And we get to try again. And from a teaching perspective, that's where you really learn. And if it still didn't work, then you know, all right, 2 ways didn't work. Yeah, or at least you know how to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I sort of disagree to some extent that it only works with 2 services, because we've started debriefing prior to going to 2 services.
Yes. But I think the nature of the feedback has changed over time. So because we're 2 services, you can be much more granular in terms of this is exactly what we're going to be changing next service. Whereas previously, I think our focus would have been more big picture things. So for example, it would be things that people would need some time to adjust and change. Like, let's say our keys, like there was a season where our keys were moving from like, you know, the typical like pad sounds and strings and stuff like that. And we wanted them to try and explore different things, start using MIDI, start crafting sounds and stuff like that. So the feedback would be along those kinds of lines.
Right.
Which is good because it gives them something practical to go home and be like, oh yeah, the last time we chatted, we need to work on this stuff. Or even just generic characteristics of someone's playing that you could encourage them on or challenge them on. So, well, I noticed that you're really stuck on your chords. I'd like you to explore improvisation to some degree.
Yep.
And so at least it's something that's practical that they will be able to bring to the next time. Otherwise, it can feel a bit too much like you're just shooting down someone if you're really nitpicking on like, oh, you stuff up the intro of, this song there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you still recommend it for a church that doesn't do 2 services?
I think so. I think it's a good practice. You just have to be wise in how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of the reason why you get Eddie and Lester to come in, I'm not sure if that was your intent, but Eddie did share this with me. It's so that we have our worship team sounding similar every week in that sense. Like, it's not like, oh, I want worship leader, and it's a completely different sound. And you don't want people walking and feeling like, did I step into a different church kind of thing? So you get that consistent kind of like, all right, we're going for this kind of a sound. Yeah,
it's also cultural consistency as well. So I think part of a growing ministry is that you have lots of people joining from different spaces.
Yep.
And so you have different ways of seeing things and doing things, which can be a good thing, but also at the same time can be confusing.
Yep.
If, like, let's say MD ABC and they all MD very differently and have different focuses. So having someone there that you've empowered to say, I actually think you should make the call large scale on how our philosophy and our ethos behind MDing, I think that's actually really helpful. Whilst also making sure that person doesn't crush the dreams of every other MD.
Our MD would never do that.
No, he's real good.
Hear that, Addy? He says you're real good.
Probably doesn't listen to this podcast.
Probably not. Gee, we've hardly scratched the surface of the other 7 questions. But maybe this can be a standalone episode, because actually a lot of the stuff we're talking about now is very practical, and we often get asked this when we go to worship schools or when we interact with other worship directors and pastors.
Yeah.
So if we can continue on this thread and really exhaust it.
Go for it.
One other thing we've tried recently, and this is part of the culture building, is because we are in between we've got 2 services back to back. Tell us about what happens in between services.
Right. In between services, we rest. No, we do, but we do to a degree. So we come together, we debrief over coffee, chats, chills. Different worship leaders do different things, but usually there's a short break time. People can go to the toilet, unwind, hang out with their friends a little bit. Usually we come together at a preset time before the service. I think that varies week to week, but maybe around about 15 minutes. And then different worship leaders do different things, whether that's we all just like pray together to center ourselves again. Sometimes we worship together around the keys backstage. But usually it's just trying to make sure that our minds haven't gone to all the different places and, conversations that we've had with different people. But we recenter on why we're there. Try to make sure that we are viewing this service with fresh lens and not becoming complacent. Like, I've done it once before. I know exactly how this is going to go.
Yeah.
And then gather backstage, get ready. Production guy counts us out. Game time. Was there more that you were prying at?
The second service itself, during the sermon. I think that's what you're talking about.
Oh, yes. And then, during the sermon.
Yes.
So we don't require the team to sit through the second service sermon.
Because we have exactly the same sermon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't think we've set in stone that this happens, but it happens with different ones of us at different times.
Then it was encouraged.
It was,
Then it was encouraged.
Yeah. So anyway, so what used to happen was the team used to just like gather in the green room. We'd have a stream of the sermon running, so we know what's happening within the service, and then we just kind of relax, ate, chat, talk to one another. Some of us would be on our phones, varying degrees of engagement. Recently, we have tried to implement using that time to be a bit more intentional. So I think it was probably
Karis.
you. And
It was Karis.
probably, I know Karis. Yeah, Karis
Yeah, it
embodies that a
started
lot.
from her. Yeah.
Yeah. But just to have deeper conversations, whether it was about worship, whether it was about just the spiritual walk, life in general, which I think has been pretty cool because it has opened up a chance for us to hear from members who usually wouldn't talk in a setting where you're running a rehearsal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been good and encouraged, but I think it still happens on and off.
Yeah. And I think just to tie into what we're going to talk about in a moment about team gatherings, which is another forum for communication. We found that what is useful in some of the in-between times is for us to then talk about what was taught at the team gathering so that we have another chance to inculcate what was shared.
Yes. So that's a good side effect, or not side effect of what you're trying to implement. I think the second one is trying to build spiritual community. I think it is easy in a worship ministry context, especially if you're full of really efficient, effective people who are just like busting out rehearsals and like arrangements and stuff like that, that the ministry can feel like just getting business done. And so one of the other effects of something like this moment is it helps to bridge gaps where it allows community to start forming. Where it's actually, I feel like I know you beyond serving together as a team member. Yeah.
I actually think it has been really good because I'm kind of in the middle, not really old, but I can't say I'm young for sure. Like there are others, yes. But you get to hear others who are younger and they might have a certain perspective, and you kind of go, hey, I can possibly speak into that person's life, or I can speak to that person to glean from them. And I don't feel like there are too many opportunities that we get to do this. And these are people who have the same heart for worship in that sense, right? Like it's a gifting. And other times when you're chatting with people in Connect group, like people have varying like ministries, and it's like it's not really like the same thing, kind of. But here you have people who want to serve the Lord through music. And you get to talk about these things. You see someone with like deeper wisdom, and you go like, "Hey, tell me more about that," right? And you hear someone, could be I don't know, but maybe someone says something you're like, "Oh, actually, that's not quite right," and then you could take them aside after and kind of gently, with a lot of wisdom and love and grace, kind of go like, "Hey, actually, what do you mean when you said that? Like, have you thought about this other perspective?" And I think that I've really enjoyed that. Not that I've done that too many times, but it's a great opportunity to mentor, to bring people together.
To make
people.
disciples in a disciple-making church.
Oh, yes, that's what we are.
Indeed. Extra points for us.
So we, at our ARVOs, which we briefly talked about, we do get the person who's sharing does prepare like a list of questions, like about 3 to 5 questions of sorts, so that the worship leaders, through the next few weeks until the next ARVO, they have a list of questions that they can choose and run through with the team. That's how we've done it. Are we going to talk about ARVOs?
I think so, and then I think we can wrap.
Yes, we can wrap this one up.
How long has it been?
It's been about 40 minutes.
Okay.
What
a day.
Well, we're not done yet, but tell us about team gatherings. What happens there?
And what are team gatherings? How often do we do it?
So our team gatherings are a chance for us as a team. Actually, we copied the idea from Hillsong, to be honest. They used to call them team nights, and that's where the inspiration came from.
I never knew. Okay.
I don't know if they did what we did. I don't know if we had that much insight, but essentially it's a time for the entire worship team to come together, worship together, learn, chat, talk about worship, understand worship, build a sense of team, culture, cohesiveness. So that's the aim, like kind of unity, shared alignment, vision, all that kind of stuff. So that has changed and progressed over the years. But we used to do it every month. Now we have reduced it to every 2. Maybe because we've gotten old and busy.
People have had kids.
When we were a younger team, you should gather more. I was talking to a bit of a sidebar. I was talking to the creative director of another church in Perth, and he was saying his team gathers basically every week.
Oh, the
Every
entire
week,
team.
The entire team.
How many people are in the entire team?
He said not everybody comes, but he probably gets about 40 to 60 there every month. I think every Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, and they train every week. And I was like mind blown by that. I was like, who has the time for that? But yeah, that's a big sidebar. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow,
Yeah.
Every week, 40 to 60 people. That is a lot of commitment.
Yeah, but they, I think, are a majority young church.
Right.
Yeah. Their team is majority young, which grants that level of time allowance.
So you're saying in due course they'll slow down?
Give it 20 years.
I asked, hey, then do you have anyone like older in your team? And he says, yeah, they've got a few. The majority is still young, but they've still got a couple who, like a few who are more around lesser in my age, where we've got like a couple of young kids and stuff like that. But they seem to be okay to attend most. Yeah, and there's just no obligation to be there at everything. So it's like encourage, and it's fun, and it's community building, and they love to be there. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing.
Well, I'm going to talk to this guy and work out what the secret sauce.
Wow.
Yes. But for us, yeah, we hold it either once a month or once every 2 months now. Yeah. But I think that's been really important for us because I mean, there's not many chances in a worship ministry, especially once you grow to a certain size, where you get everybody right in front of you and you can say the real important things, define what worship is biblically, talk about the different Bible passages that talk about it, address culture without having to text people individually or rock up at certain different meetings and you don't know who's like heard it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's been really helpful. Having a space to worship together, carefree, is also a really precious thing. I think a lot of people, surprisingly, when you I've come to realize this more and more. Surprisingly, a lot of people who join the worship ministry love to serve on worship, but don't necessarily love to worship.
Oh,
it's actually quite interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, you'd think that the two would be together, but for some people, like the moment you take like the drumsticks or the guitar out of their hands, they just don't know what to do. They're a little bit awkward in doing worship and stuff like that. So having that space, I think, is really important to build worshipers. Going back to our very first question that you asked.
That's right. It's come full circle.
But yeah, just to envision culture. This is who we are before we step on a stage and serve. We're meant to be, and we are worshipers of God. And so, a chance to affect people's emotions. Let them worship in that space, I think, is really, really good. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to end this episode. I think we've really talked about the framework that you've put into this ministry to build worshipers, which is your real main goal, and we've seen it manifest in the different aspects of the touch points of the ministry, which I think is very helpful to our listeners.
Yep. But otherwise, we have come to the end of this episode. We've barely scratched the surface of like the questions that we pinned down. But it seems like this will be a 8-part kind of.
I didn't have any questions. We went through half of the first.
But we thank you for tuning in with us. To our faithful listeners, we actually really appreciate you. There's some of you out there who have been faithfully listening, and we don't know who you are, and we just want to say we appreciate you, and we hope you're blessed by this, and we hope that the ministries that you're in charge of, we hope that they're blessed by it in some shape or form. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow. But otherwise, we thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one with Pastor Dave again. See you then.
See you then.
Bye.